In a lot of ways, college applications are really just like job applications, where you're handing in a resume with everything you've ever done and begging, please, please hire me. Except with the case of college applications, the resumes you're handing in are just everything you've ever done in high school, and here you're begging, please, please accept me into your university. And in the process of evaluating these college applications, a lot of really arbitrary numbers are just thrown about. Things like GPA, test scores, class rank, and whatnot. Honestly, I think it's pretty ridiculous to try to reduce people down to just numbers because they're people, not numbers. To me, it's pretty nonsense, but these numbers mean something to someone, so here I am today throwing out my own numbers. My purpose here isn't to flex or brag about any of my accomplishments because I think that my ego is already pretty self-inflated on its own, and I don't think any amount of internet validation will make that any worse. I'm not here to flex on any high school students, but rather to share my own stats to kind of serve as an example of what a successful applicant may look like. Because as you may know, I did get into some pretty great schools. So I'm really here to serve as one type of example, but not necessarily the best or most optimal. It's entirely possible to get into the schools that I got into with completely different student profiles. I'm just here to share my own experiences because, I mean, they're my experiences and they're what worked for me. But there are also plenty of other ways to get to where I am now. Alright, so I have all my stats written down on my handy dandy iPad, so I'll basically just be reading off of them for the rest of the video. Alright, so starting off with my academics, in terms of my weighted GPA, I had a 5.07, but my school was pretty weird with how they weighted their classes, where an AP class could give you a 5.3 for your GPA instead of a 5.0, which is the case at most schools. So if we take that into consideration and scale my GPA down to what it would be at a more normal high school, it'd be around a 4.77, and then in terms of my unweighted GPA, I had a 3.98. And then in terms of class rank, my school didn't really do rankings for their students unless you were valedictorian or salutatorian. So I was valedictorian for my graduating class, which means that I was first overall out of 64 students. So as you can see, I went to a pretty small high school, so really your GPA and your class rank are going to be pretty relative to the size of your school and the classes that are offered, so everything is pretty contextual. And for coursework, I'll just read off all the different classes I took at the different grade levels that I took them. For 9th grade, I had English 9 honors, Math 1 honors, Biology honors, World History 2 honors, Spanish 2, Men's Sports, Drawing 1, Graphic Design, Health 9, and Service Learning. For 10th grade, I had AP English Language, Honors Math 2, AP US History 1, Spanish 4, Sculpture, Digital Photography, Painting, Music Fundamentals, and Service Learning. For 11th grade, I had AP English Literature, AP Calculus AB, AP Chemistry, AP US History 2, AP Psychology, AP 2D Art, College Skills, Service Learning, Intro to Philosophy, and Pre-Calculus. For 12th grade, I had AP Biology, AP US Government, AP Spanish Language, AP Statistics, College Skills, Service Learning, AP Physics C, American Literature, and Literature and Film. As you can see, I took a pretty rigorous course load in high school. I took all honors classes whenever they were available, and I also took all AP classes when they were available. And I think by the end of high school, I took, 13 or 14 AP classes, a couple of honors classes, a couple of dual enrollment classes at the local university. But again, this is going to be really contextual based on what classes are offered at your school and which grade levels you're able to take them. But I think as long as you're taking the most rigorous course load that's available to you while making sure that your grades don't start to drop, you should be all set in terms of your transcript. Like, you don't need to be worried about not being able to take classes that are just not offered at your high school. You know, you really just got to make the most of what you have. And then in terms of standardized test scores, I took the PSAT a couple times. I got a 1320 in 9th grade, a 1380 in 10th grade, and a 1480 in 11th grade, which did qualify me for the National Merit Scholarship. And then for the actual SAT, I took it a total of 3 times. The first time I got a 1470 with a 740 in reading and writing and a 730 in math. The second time I got a 1490 with a 750 in reading and writing and a 740 in math. And then I also took the SAT essay that time and I got a 15 out of 24, which is absolutely ridiculous. And I was so stressed about that bad essay score that I decided to take the SAT again, which in hindsight was a great idea because the third time I took it, I got a 1570 with a 770 in reading and writing and an 800 in math. I also took the SAT subject tests. For the first time around, I took Math 2 and got a 750, Chemistry and got a 680, and US history and got a 780. I wasn't really too happy with my chemistry and math 2 scores, so I took them again. The second time around for chemistry, I got a 710, and for math 2, unfortunately, I got a 740. I was kind of worried there because my chemistry and math 2 scores were not that good in terms of like their percentile range, but I mean, I guess it worked out in the end, so not something to stress about too much. And then in terms of AP scores, for AP Lang, I got a 5, AP Calc AB, I got a 4, AP Chem, I got a 3, AP Lit, I got a 5, AP Psych, I got a 5, and AP Push, I got a 5. So I did get 1 4 and 1 3, but overall I did really well in my AP exams for 10th and 11th grade. Can't really say the same for 12th grade, but fortunately my senior year AP scores didn't matter for my college applications. Alright, and then for awards, I had National Merit Scholarship finalist, US Presidential Scholars Program nominee, winner of High School Quiz Show Extra Credit, which was like some game show type thing, the Bryant University Excellence in High School Psychology Award, and the Harvard Book Award. So I did have a couple good awards here and there throughout high school, but nothing super crazy on like a national or international level, just, you know, a couple things here and there. Alright, next we'll move into some of the more juicy stuff with my extracurricular activities. Ooh. On the Common App, I just ordered my activities based on 1, how cool I thought they were, and then 2, like how much time and effort I put into them. Alright, so starting from the top, I have the National Security Language Initiative for Youth, or NSLY for short, study abroad program, where I spent 7 weeks in South Korea just studying the language and kind of just hanging out. I also have Student Body President, History Bowl Team Captain, Quiz Bowl and Quiz Show Team Captain, Varsity Cross Country Captain, Varsity Track Leader. By the time I was applying to college, the track season hadn't started yet, so I hadn't officially been named captain yet, so I just called myself leader so that I could give myself some sort of title. I was also on the National Honor Society Executive Council. I had the Bagong Kulturang Pinoy Service Project, where I was helping send books to the Philippines. I was also an ultra server at my church, and I was on my city's youth commission as their clerk. Common App gives you space to list 10 activities, and I did fill out all 10 slots because I didn't want to leave anything up to chance. The activities I did were things that I was pretty interested in, so I guess my advice for you, if you're still looking for activities to get involved with, is to just think about whatever interests you and find activities that relate to them, and then just try to get as involved with them as possible. At the end of the day, I think what colleges want to see is you having like some sort of passion or even just like some kind of interest, and also showing like some kind of leadership. And that about does it for the bulk of the Common App section of the Common App. But there is also an additional information section where you can put a couple more things in. I think it gives you 650 words to just write whatever. My advice for this section would be, if you actually have things that are worthwhile putting in, to put them in, and if you're just trying to fill up the space for the sake of filling up space, probably don't do that because it's not a good idea. You know, these admissions officers already have to read so much when they're going through every application, and if you're just adding more words for them to have to read more words, I don't think they're gonna like that. For my additional information section, I said that I was a YouTube content creator with like, I think I had 5,000 subscribers at the time. I also mentioned that I entered the NSLY video contest and had an honorable mention there. I said that I was an AP scholar with distinction, which is just based off the number of AP tests I took and the scores I got on them, so it's essentially a nothing award. I also had 2 math awards and a Spanish award, which was given at the end of school year ceremony for my high school. So yeah, that was about it for my Common App and all the stats and stuff that I put down. I think this covers basically everything that was in my Common App except for my actual essays, which I would argue are actually the most important part of your application, so I'll probably cover them in a separate video. And again, my intention in making this video was not to brag or flex about my accomplishments, but rather to try to serve as like an example for other students. And you know, my stats and my profile are pretty impressive and competitive for the schools I got into. Realistically, my stats are not that impressive for top schools, you know. I have plenty of classmates who have more impressive profiles than me, and even with the stats that I did have, I got rejected from a number of schools. So I guess this is just to say that if you want to get into these really elite top universities, you have to be grinding all throughout high school. And I know I didn't give too much advice in this video about how to actually go about improving your profile for your college applications, so I'll probably save that for another video. But in the meantime, if you have any questions, just leave them in the comments below. And if you want to see the Common App essay that got me into schools like Stanford, check out this video right here. or really feel free to watch any of the other videos on my channel for free advice on your college applications.